Hi everyone. So I have a new product for you to take part in. This is for J Armor wallets. Now you can get these wallets for a pretty good price. Partially, it seems at this point, partially American made, but they're going to be planning to be completely American made by the year 2027. The fun part is that you can actually see what new wallet styles are going to be coming in 2026. So a little bit about the company. The company was founded by Jake Hernandez, who is also a part of the U.S. Air Force veteran, or he is a U.S. Air Force veteran. So with his business, he is also supporting charities like anti-child labor organizations, veteran support programs, and efforts to rebuild American manufacturing. So this is clearly something that is very important to him, and honestly, really important to me as well. And going to the link in the show notes, which I will say what that link is in a minute, but going to the link in the show notes not only helps support this podcast, but is also helping to support J Armor as well as helping support the charities that he finds near and dear to him. So if you go to the show notes and you find that link, the link is jarmorwallets.com/reality times 2. So that is j-armorwallets.com/REALITIMESTWO. So I hope you go on and support not only me, but as well as this company. Now, that's enough of me. Let's go back to the episode. Patreon, going strong. If you want to go over there and join in on the fun, we got 3 tiers on Canadian dollars. First tier is $3 a month, where you get these episodes ad free. You also get AMAs once a month, or learn about me episodes once a month. And then on the second tier, which is $5 a month, you get everything from the first tier, as well as coverage of a reality show of yesteryear. That's right now Jersey Shore, currently in season 3. You can also go to the main feed, where there will be the first episode of every season released there. So you can try that before you head over to the Patreon. And then on the third tier, you get everything from the first 2 tiers, as well as coverage from a true crime documentary. We got the backlog of Ashley Madison documentary, Man with 1,000 Kids, Into the Fire, Lacey Peterson, and again, all those episodes for the first episode of each is in the main feed, so you can try that before you head over. So if you are interested, you can head over to patreon.com/reality times 2, and you can sign up for whichever tier you feel for. Again, you can try before you buy, which basically means you can try any tier for a week before committing to it. Even if you are on if you are on tier 1 or the first tier and you want to go over to the second tier, you could still try that second tier for a week before committing to the upgrade. So again, that is at patreon.com/reality times 2. And of course, the link is in the show notes, website, social media accounts. It's all available there. This episode is ad-free on the Patreon. So if you want to partake in that, you can head on over to patreon.com/reality times 2. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be discussing Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I don't know how many episodes we're going to be doing. We'll figure that out as we go. But let's just get into it. The reason we're here. Let's go into episode 8. Jesse. So, by the way, before we get into it, just for you as a reminder, we just talked about the fact that one of Leanne's friends, again, who is Taylor's mom, may have crossed the line. Her and Dakota. So that's where we left off. And this was said by Jordan, who was telling Jesse. Jesse's like, so is he going to tell her before or after he had already had sex with her? He's like, she says, I have to say something. Like, I know this. Like, I have to say something to him. And Jordan's like, he is going to tell her. No, he's not. Now he's not. Because maybe he would have told her if they didn't have sex, but they had sex. They've been, after that, have been having sex. He's not telling her now. It's not going to happen. He's like, I think his plan was to tell her. He just hasn't gotten to it yet. And Jesse's like, for 2 years, he hasn't gotten to it for 2 years. Oh, okay. I don't know exactly when this happened, if it's been since they've broken up or if this was prior to her having ever. So I don't know the timeline here. But we then see Taylor and Dakota cuddling in bed, and I'm just like, poor Taylor doesn't even know what's happening right now. And they're looking at pictures from Stagecoach, just reminiscing. And they start talking about Taylor telling Dakota that she loves him. And I just want to pull her from the screen and say, girl, please stop. Please stop. Because he's making you look like a fucking fool right now. And I hate him. Protect Taylor at all costs. I can't take this right now. I'm like, leave her alone. Be a father to your child and let's just be done. While this drama is happening, the reunion has not yet been filmed. So that gives us a little bit of context into the fact of when they filmed the reunion, from my understanding, they were good. He hadn't yet told her. I think he tells her after the reunion, if I'm correct. Yes, I am correct. Because never at the taping of the reunion, the news had clearly not yet come out at the time of the reunion about Dakota. Which is why she was being very cagey, obviously, because that was going to come out in the season about where they stood. We are with Whitney and Connor. Hi, Connor. It's been a minute. She feels like I was in the hot seat with everyone, including the host, about in terms of the reunion. Yeah, Nick Vile got to the point. Like that's what we're here for. And Nick Vile is going to hold you to the fire, unlike Sean Robinson. But he's going to do that. He ain't playing games. Have you seen him? In previous seasons of Bachelor, he doesn't take anyone's shit. You know what I mean? So, anyways, she's like, felt like I had to defend Demi, but Demi would never defend you. That's the thing. Why defend her when she would never do that for you? But now she is like, why didn't Demi talk to me about these texts? Good fucking question. Because she knew how it would look if it came out. Especially with her talking about he sexually assaulted me. She knew it wouldn't look good. He knew it wouldn't look good. She knew it would make her look like she was lying. Connor is like, why didn't you say this? It makes me second guess. Good. And Whitney says that she is shocked about things, and as she should be, you can see her questioning things for sure. And she feels that the texts with Demi and Marciano are inappropriate, 100%. And Whitney's like, I think I need to talk to her. So we'll get to that a little later. We see Michaela and Jace at couples therapy. Thank God they need this. She does not see herself as a sexual person, which, again, is very, very sad that she just doesn't see herself in that way. Again, something that has been just robbed from her. Is like if he could have his way, he could have sex 3 times a day. No, Maybe, okay. Maybe once in a while. I mean, okay, who am I kidding? Yeah, okay. Um, but she says it feels like this is something that she has to fix on her own, which I can understand her feeling like she has to do that on her own. But I think Jace, again, being the sweetest man alive, says that he does not want her to feel like she has to do this alone. I love him. I love him. Jace and Jacob, they're both sweethearts. Like, seriously. So we then get into very political stances here. Something I didn't know about. I never heard about this. But it seems like Utah is kind of following a similar suit as what Florida is doing, where they are now banning, or a new ban had just passed in Utah, where the pride flag is not permitted on government property or schools. Why the fuck not? Why the fuck not? Uh, it pains me to know that things like LGBT, just being, has to be political. Transgender, I mean, obviously, yes, this is all political, do not get me wrong, but I'm just I just don't get it because you don't understand. There are people, a part of this community, who work in government, who work in schools. There are children who identify or may one day identify as someone in the queer community if they haven't quite gotten to that realization yet. And from taking that away from government property, from schools, which obviously is, all tied into that. But it's just like, oh God, I don't understand. I just don't understand. And I can imagine, I'm trying not to get emotional. I can imagine for me, as someone who is cisgender straight woman who doesn't understand, I can only imagine how that community feels, that they did so much work to be loud and proud and be heard, to now be silenced, between that and that includes transgender rights and obviously, and women's rights. Basically, people who men, white, crotchety old men, or sometimes young men, just don't want to hear from. We don't want to hear from the queer community. Gives a fuck about what they think. You don't want to hear from women. You're part of the rib of Adam. So we don't give a shit what you have to say. The rib doesn't talk anyways, I'm I'm sick of it. I'm very sick of it. I think that's kind of just where I'm at. Um, and I can only imagine how everyone else feels who is a part of that community. Just really sick of it. Um, Maisie and Jace are not about this bullshit, as they shouldn't be. So we're gonna see a little bit more about that in a little bit. We see Taylor and Dakota talking or taking ever to get pictures done for his first birthday. How a year has gone by. It will be the last family photos they ever do together. More on that in a little bit. We then see Whitney. She's getting ready to go to dinner with Demi. And she says, I am going to be bringing up the eggplant and the oyster shell or the clam shell or the whatever shell situation emojis. We're going to be bringing that up. She says, Jesse brought out receipts between you and Marciano. And she says, I talk that way with everyone I know. So then wouldn't then Whitney know that? And wouldn't have Whitney said, oh, but she talks about like that with me too sometimes? If that was the case, would Jesse have even brought these receipts out if Jesse knew that's how you talk to people? No. And again, you are married. I mean, I am not married, but I am in a long-term committed relationship, and I imagine if I was talking that way to another man, my boyfriend would not appreciate that. He wouldn't like that whatsoever. So, no, you can talk certain things with certain people, but I think a straight man who you know is interested in you, you just wouldn't do that. I just you just wouldn't do that. Um, but she's like, "I talk about that with everyone. I'm crude," which there's nothing wrong with being crude. Be crude. Women, be crude. It's fine. I don't care about that. But it's like be crude with people that you can do so appropriately while being married. She said she blames her stepdaughter for the pet name that Marciano ended up getting, which we did talk about at the reunion. Or no, maybe they didn't talk about that at the reunion because Demi wasn't there. Whitney says, "It's just not adding up because I would never I would never talk to someone like that." And Whitney says, then there was the call with Jen, because if you remember at the reunion, there was a call that Jen recorded of her basically like trying to coach her on what to say. And she says, "I coached her because I didn't want the sexual assault to come out." But why wouldn't you want it to come out? Because if you were actually sexually assaulted, why wouldn't you want that to come out? So that would have been an understanding between you and Brett. The women would have understood you more. This would have been a very different season 2 and 3. If you just, I mean, maybe you didn't want to come out because you didn't want to face that, and that's a whole separate conversation. But it's just but why wouldn't you not want that to come out to protect yourself, your marriage? I just I don't understand that. But if it was about the fact that she just didn't want to face that, she didn't say that here. So I don't know. Um, but she says, "I don't know why it gets diminished. We've talked at length of why it's getting diminished. The question is, why did I keep talking to him? Yes, why did you keep talking to him?" She's like, "Well, I don't know why do women stay after they get beat up by their husbands." Oh, fucking God. Okay. Okay, let's buckle up, y'all. Talking to a person who does not live in the same state as you, who you didn't even have an intimate anything with. You don't share expenses. You never had anything quite like that in that situation. You you don't there's nothing there. You can cut that off fairly easy in comparison to a woman who is i- in a relationship with a person where she may depend on that person financially, she may depend on that person mentally, emotionally, and that person has also separated her from people, her loved ones, family, friends, potentially, whether that is um, emotionally, mentally, or even geographically. But there are different situations, very two very different situations. And for her to equate the two things shows that she has absolutely no knowledge. And to me, it feels like she is shaming Macy, who went through a situation like that. And I just don't understand why she doesn't understand that those are two very separate things. Very separate. Um, but what gives Whitney ease is that Brett knew about everything. Why is that giving you ease? I don't know why she thinks that's giving her ease because doesn't she think, as she does with everybody else, that she can spin a narrative for Brett to believe? I don't necessarily shame Brett for being explosive in certain situations, being very upset about certain situations. I do not shame him on that, especially when he may not have the full picture. Of course he should be defending his wife, but it's just I don't know why Whitney feels comfort in Brett knowing. I don't. Um so mom talk is hosting a Pride Month event in response to this ban that's not happened. And Chase is here. And Chase goes to Taylor and he actually apologizes for the Halloween party. The same Halloween party where he was shaming her and yelling at her, and Dakota was coming in, and Hakeem was there in the background watching the whole thing. Yeah, that Halloween party. So we find out here at BYU, so Brigham Young University, some of the policies there are, no same-sex relationships. Because God forbid in Mormonism, here we go again with my bird, again in Mormonism, there's no same-sex anything. And also getting pregnant out of wedlock, which is obviously something Macy experienced. So, Whitney, she gets home, or technically to the hotel, and Connor is like, how'd it go? And Whitney says, Connor, my husband, he loves the tea because, never mind. But Brett, also felt bad for him, felt bad for Marciano because that was brought up. That apparently Demi, said that he felt bad and wanted to buy him like Uber Eats or something. So Connor is like, this is weird. This is odd. Whitney feels confused, as I think anyone would feel confused. And she feels like Demi isn't being honest with herself and with you and everybody else. And Connor says, if something happened like that, I would keep my children far away from it. 1,000%. If this man you think sexually assaulted you, why would you have your children, and may I add, Brett's biological children, involved in any of this? If I was Brett, I'd be pissed, personally. If I was those kids' mothers, I'd be pissed. We then see Macy and Jacob putting a pride flag up at their house, again in, being supportive of the queer community with everything that's going on. We see Michaela and Jace, and she says that he knows about the abuse that happened when she was 15 years old. But what he doesn't know is that there was times when she was 6, which I thought she had told us that, but maybe she didn't tell him that, which makes sense because season 2 hadn't yet filmed. So he may not have seen any of that or anything. But I mean, I don't know if, and maybe I'm incorrect and I'm remembering incorrectly. She hasn't told him who did it because she feels like she wants to protect that person, which is not an unusual thing that happens for people who have been abused. But it is a family member, that's not surprising, unfortunately. And she didn't want to ruin family relationships, which makes us really sad because she didn't want to ruin family relationships with this person who, did this to her. But what ended up happening when she does come out and says, this has been happening to me and this is who did it, it ruined her relationship with her mother. So it's very sad. It's very sad. I don't understand. Again, I said it then and I'll say it again here. I will never understand a mother who does not believe their child. I'll never will. So now we're with Taylor, and she gets a call from her sister. She gets a call while with her sister, and she's like, call her sister, and basically was saying, I'm sorry, I ran out of there really quickly. I'm sorry, but this is what happened. So she got a call from her therapist who says, I need you to come in with Dakota. He has some stuff to say. And she's like, can't, I have press. I'm gonna be out of the state. And with that, she ends up calling Dakota. And she says, you need to tell me what's going on because I have press. I need to know what's going on. I can't go to this therapy appointment with you. And he says, well, I don't want to tell you before you have press. I don't want to ruin press. And she's like, you're already going to ruin press. Whether you tell me or you don't tell me, you're going to ruin press. So just tell me. And he confessed everything. And that is the end of Dakota and Taylor, thank God. It finally makes sense to me how she became Bachelorette, because I'm like, how did this happen? Now I understand. So, yeah, but that is basically it for this episode 8. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps, every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.